Hey everybody, Z Garcia here. Welcome back to Board Game Blender. Today we figured we would take a look back at 2017. As 2018 is wrapping up, it's always helpful, for me anyway, to reflect back on what we've played last year, maybe even, before that, and think about those games again. Bring those back to the limelight. We often get caught up in this idea of what's new, what's hot right now, what's happening, what's on everyone's mind, and forget about these fantastic games that by no means could be considered old designs that somehow still get buried under that avalanche of newness. So we're going to take a look at that, and I'm going to be highlighting a couple of games myself that I think flew under the radar in unfortunate ways, and some that were quirky little designs, still did not get a lot of attention, but are interesting and clever and neat looking games. So hopefully you do this for yourself. Take a moment, look up some older games, go through your collection again, and find that one game that you were at one point very excited about and now simply sits there unloved. Bring that back out, give it another play, see how you still like it. And I have a sneaking suspicion that it's going to surprise you again with how fresh and new it still feels. So, without further ado, let's kick it off.
Hey there, friends of the blend. It's Chris and Lindsay from Behind the Box, and today we wanted to share with you an amazing game that came out last year that we still play today, and that is Spirit Island.
Now, in Spirit Island, players will take on the role of spirits protecting an island from invaders. Each turn, the spirits will decide how they will grow their presence on the island to combat the invaders who will be exploring, building, and ravaging the land.
So this is a deep, complex, and challenging game, and we really just don't have enough time to go into it in much detail here now. So instead, we're just going to focus on what makes it so special that we're still playing it today. And for me, that's the cooperative problem solving. You really do need to work together and communicate in order to be successful at this game. And I just love games that provide opportunities for great teamwork.
Now, this cooperative problem solving will be different every single game you play. For my reason why I love it is because there's so much variety. There are so many ways you set this game up. The way the explorers will act every turn is going to be different based on the cards that come out. You get to choose different spirits that you get to play as, and each of them has very different gameplay and will change how you will proceed through the game, the way that you advance, the powers that you unlock, the events that happen. Everything will be completely different. The variety in this game sort of knows no limits. And there's also scenarios you can do. So once you get a bit more comfortable with just the base game, you can introduce these scenarios that will actually change the fundamental rules of the game and just add so much variety and replayability. It's just absolutely insane.
Spirit Island is a spectacularly well designed board game, and we see ourselves playing it and enjoying it for years to come.
So have you played Spirit Island? If so, what do you think of it? And do you have any games that you're still playing that came out last year? Let us know down below. We'd love to know and hear about those games. And if you want more board game discussion with ourselves, check us out at our own YouTube channel. But until the next one, we'll see you soon. Bye.
For Under the Radar, I'm going to be taking a look at two different games that when they came out just did not get a lot of attention, and by now, again, these are 2017 releases, they're simply buried and are going to find no love at this point. So maybe me talking about or reminiscing about what I liked about them will re-spark at least one of you to either seek them out or bring them back out again, give them another go. So the first one is a deduction game called Black Stories Investigation. This one, unfortunately, has quite a bit working against it. For one thing, and the most obvious thing, is that this one utilizes the theme of Black Stories, which is a line of sort of puzzle games in which you are given a picture, an image, and you have to figure out what happened. It's just an illustration. You get to ask questions of the person holding the image. On the back of that card, they have, what's going on in the image, and you're trying to puzzle out who done it or what happened or why based on just the illustration. This game here, with the investigation part after it, has nothing to do with those games. It's nothing like them. It's a completely different design. In this one, you are trying to deduce some information, and you will do so by playing cards to other players, giving them cards, and that player is going to take that card. It'll show a few pieces of information, like time of day, if it's inside or outside, that sort of thing, binary choices, and they will place it in front of them in an area that denotes whether their hidden card that you are trying to deduce shares 0 or 1 of those parameters, maybe 2 of those parameters, and trying to, as these things build up in front of the players, you'll start putting things together. Okay, well, they put that card there, which means it must share 2 of those things with the one they've got hidden, but someone gave them this card earlier with several of those same parameters, and they put it over here on the 0 or 1 spot. Well, I think I have a pretty good idea of what the hidden card they've got is. And then you make a guess. So it's about the cleanest, most straightforward deduction game that I've seen. It's one that I think would go over really well for people who enjoy Clue, but maybe have grown tired of the roll and move aspect of Clue, which, is very much just sort of a hindrance to that game's strong points. This one really works well. Deduction games seem to be all the rage right now, and so it's unfortunate that this game, because of either, again, the obscurity of the theme, the components are not really spectacular. It's unfortunate that it's flown under the radar, because I think it's a very clean, robust design that would do really well, if it just got a little more traction. So I would definitely recommend you give this one a look. Black Stories Investigation does not deserve to go unnoticed. The other game I have here is an I Split You Choose style game. Not a very prevalent mechanism, but one that I always seem to enjoy, and there's just not that many games that use it. This is a game called Skyward. And in Skyward, each player is attempting to build a floating city. You're going to be doing this by, again, flipping over some cards, splitting into groups, depending on the number of players, and having all the other players pick a group of those. You, the one who split the piles, of course, get the last choice. And so you have to be careful about what you put where, careful about what you're giving other players, and what you're hoping to end with yourself. I like the look a lot. I like the simplicity of the design a lot. It's a very straightforward, solid game. Now, I will say I prefer this one with fewer players. I think it makes a fantastic 2-player game, for example. But besides that, the game has a real fun spark of entertainment and imagination within it. I really like the format of the cards. These are nice, large cards. Illustrations on them are bright, attractive. The world building is minimal, but it's there and it looks good. And the buildings and the different powers that you can unlock through them are, again, not mind-blowing, but there's some fun interaction with all of the moving parts in this game. It also does not take very long to play. So if you enjoy that idea, this I Split You Choose mechanism, I really recommend that you give this one a go. Skyward is unfortunately just not getting a lot of love. I think very few people have either heard of it or given it a try, but I would certainly say give it a go. Again, play it the first time you play with a lower number count for the players, because with more, it plays 2 to 4. If you're playing with 4, you are splitting quite a few of cards, and that might be a bit daunting at first if you haven't, tried it with just 2 players, simply drawing fewer cards and splitting into only 2 groups. Really enjoy this one, Skyward. And that's it for me. So there you go. That is 2 games that I found to fly under the radar, both from 2017, both excellent, interesting games that are going to appeal to a lot of people, I think, if they just give them a shot. So that's it for me. I'm Z Garcia. I'll see you on the next one.
Hey everyone, happy holidays from the Teacher's Lounge. My name is Chris, and if you're like me, you enjoy a release from last year called The Castles of Burgundy, the dice game. But The Castles of Burgundy is already a dice game, said a lot of people, including me, until I played this. I didn't realize that this was a boiled down roll and write version of the Stefan Feld classic. The game pretty much just comes with this pad of paper, a few dice, of course, and some pencils. You pencil in combinations of colors and numbers to try and complete areas, and you get completion bonuses when you complete all of a certain color. Very, very much akin to the original Castles of Burgundy, but it plays in a quarter of the time. I really enjoy this one. It's fun to play as a solitaire puzzle or with a group of people at the table. And even though there are other roll and write games that have come out since then, including the ever popular Ganz Schön Clever, I find that this is the one that I keep coming back to play either solitaire or with others. Very easy to teach and very fun, very rewarding and strategic. So, what possible teaching recommendation could I have for a simple game like this? I don't often say this, but I think that this is a game that you should upgrade. And what upgrade pack is there available that might be in every big box store near you? Better pens. I'm not kidding. The pencils that this game comes with are extremely hard to see on the drab color scheme of the Castles of Burgundy, shall we say. They're very light gray, and though they're sweet because they remind me of miniature golf, these just serve better in every purpose. This particular brand doesn't even bleed through, so you can use both sides of the sheet. I find that this is just going to make the experience more enjoyable and less hard to see for everyone, and so I don't often tell people, oh, you should upgrade a game for usability, for functionability. This is one that I think you should spend a few dollars, buy these sweet, sweet teacher pens, and feel like you're really cool when you use the red one and you write F in that sheet, because F stands for failure, and you might not do too hot the first time you play Castle Burgundy the dice game because it's got some good strategy to it. I really do recommend it. One of my favorite games that came out from last year, one of my favorite games in this roll and write trend of games. So that's my recommendation. I hope that you enjoy, that you get to check it out sometime, and have a great holidays. Thanks again. My name is Chris from the Meeple Overboard podcast, and take care.
For the Quirky Game, I am again highlighting two selections from 2017 that I found to have an impact. They both have a very interesting look, and they are both clever and interesting and twisty kind of games. The first one, a game called Conja. This is a two-player only dice-driven game. It's a great selection if you've got someone in your family or circle of friends who loves the idea of Yahtzee more than they love Yahtzee itself. In this one, each player is going to be a shaman wizard, and you are going to be attempting to gather the most points by bringing forth the rain clouds, rolling dice, triggering special powers on some totems out there. You are going to be making dice combinations a la Yahtzee, as I said, and basically messing with your opponent a little bit with some card play. The game has a very unique look. I love the charming vibe that this game puts out, and all the components are excellently made. The game definitely is going to feel like a grander adventure on the table than at first you would have believed. And in fact, there is more here than at first seems apparent. The game has quite a few moving parts, interesting things that make for a robust two-player dice-driven experience. One of the things I really like, for example, in this one, which I think add to it being sort of a quirky dice-driven game, though the theme certainly is a big part of how quirky this game is is that you are going to have spells that you can trigger, but you have to gather the necessary resources to cash in to fuel up that spell and trigger it. And you can gather more spells as you go throughout the game, but you're always managing how many of these tokens you've got, which ones you've got, when you cash them in, what do you go for in the game. And I like that. I like that there are, in fact, quite a few choices in the game, even though it is just a dice-driven game. And so whether you're someone who has simply grown tired of what most dice games out there are going to offer you, you're looking for a different theme, or you are looking for a game which you can use as a stepping stone to something with more moving parts, more choices, and introduce that to someone who perhaps only is used to very traditional dice games or maybe card games, then I think this is a good choice for both. This is going to be something a little bit different in your collection. My other choice is also a dice game, somewhat more traditional dice game, but this one has actually replaced another game in my collection, the very fantastic Vegas game. A game that has actually quite a wide distribution now. I've seen a reprinting of it that you can find at mass market locations. This one is called Dice Age The Hunt. This is a Japanese design, and you are going to be attempting to control different locations by rolling your pool of dice and then grabbing all of one kind and placing them somewhere in order to wrest control of that location from one of the other players. It's basically an area control sort of majority game. However, in that original game in Vegas, and I'm not saying this is based on Vegas, just very similar, in that game, you were simply rolling the dice, placing them somewhere, and at the end, if you had the most dice there, you would get some of the pot of money. That was it. It was a very clean, simple game. But a little bit more wouldn't have hurt, and I'm very glad that Dice Age here came along because it has a very similar core system, rolling dice, placing them. But what you are splitting is animals that you are hunting with your tribe here. You are trying to bring down mammoths and other creatures. You are possibly just gathering, being a gatherer instead of a hunter. And the victory points for that, for each of those cards, will not be as much. But if at the end of the game you've got the most of those, you get a superb bonus out of that. And then you've got little powers and manipulations, and you can bring in new tribespeople, and you are going to have a lot more going on. This one is a breath of fresh air when compared to that original game, Vegas. It has a lot more color. It has some great cartoony artwork. It's going to have more moving parts, more interesting choices, and you play multiple rounds, the last one of which brings some really interesting endgame bonuses into the game. And one other twist is that depending on when you pass in the game, you are allowed to draft those endgame bonuses and other bonuses throughout the game. So especially during that last round, you might want to run out of your dice earlier so you can get just that one bonus you need that you know you're going to get a lot of points for. Normally you might want to play it safe a little bit, slow down so you can react. But that last round turns that on its head a little bit. I love this one. It completely, for me, replaced Vegas. A great game, but now whenever I feel like playing that area control style game with dice, Dice Age is my pick. And so I recommend both of these choices, Conja and Dice Age, if you're searching for, well, in this case, a dice game that does perhaps something you've seen before, in a slightly different, quirky, bizarre kind of way. Both excellent choices, 2017 games, lots of great quirky games from 2017, underrated games, games that deserve more love. So I hope you'll give it to them. Let me know in the comments below which ones are some of your great underrated games from 2017, because I'm curious to hear it. So there you go. These are my picks for Quirky Games.
Hello friends of the blend, and welcome back to Retro Board Game Corner. Today we're talking about games from the past year that we're still enjoying today. But I'm going to take it a step further. I've been playing this game for many years, and it still hits the table quite frequently. It's Screaming Eagles, published in 1987 by Milton Bradley. This is a 2 to 4 player aerial combat game in which you're trying to shoot your opponent's planes down. Let me set this up and show you how it works. So this is what the game board will look like set up. Every player is going to put their fighter on their colored space to start, green, red, yellow, white, and then take a player board. The player board is going to be set the same for each fighter. Here we're going to use the Cobra Squadron, which is the green for our example. Every player is going to get their own deck of command cards, and these dictate how you move, whether you're going to fly straight, break right, or break left, and how many dice you roll when you play each card. Every player is going to have the exact same deck. The game is going to be played in rounds, with each player taking a turn. Now each round is going to consist of moving your plane and shooting one of your weapons. Now you can either shoot the weapon before or after you move. So when it's your turn, you're going to go ahead and flip over your command card and do whatever it says that you picked. So for example, this says roll 2 black dice and break left. So I'm going to grab the 2 black dice, roll them, and I got a 3, so I'll move 3 squares to the left. 1, 2, 3. And then I can either fire or just end my turn. Now, if I come to the edge of the board here, as I make my move, all the board spaces are numbered. So, for example, this space says space 150. So I hit the 150 and come to the other 150 and then continue my move. Same thing if you were going straight. If I was going straight, I would come here to the 60 and then find the other 60 and then continue making my move. So this is an ever-ending sky. It'll never end. So if there's an enemy plane in front of you, you can go ahead and shoot one of your weapons. You have 2 long-range missiles, 3 medium missiles, and 8 cannon shots. Now, when you fire the long-range missiles, you're going to roll 4 red dice. Medium missiles, you're going to roll 3 red dice. And the cannon shots, you're going to roll 2 red dice. So what you're going to do is you're going to count the squares you are away from the ship. So here we have 1, 2, 3. You're 4 squares away. So you decide what you're going to fire. Now the difference between missile shots and the cannon round is that the cannon rounds can only fire in a straight line. And the missile shots can go ahead and zigzag until they hit their target. After you determine whether you hit or miss, on a hit, you're going to go ahead and roll 4 black dice, and you're going to see what part of the plane you hit. On a roll of 4, you hit the cockpit. On a roll of 12, you hit the fuel tank. On a roll of 7, 8, 9, you'll hit the wing. On a roll of 10 or 11, you'll hit the engine. And on a roll of 5 or 6, you'll hit the tail section. Now, if any one of these sections is filled up with pegs, you have successfully knocked that plane out of the sky. Now, your plane does have defensive capabilities with the flares here. You only get 2 flares per game. So when a person decides to fire on you, you can go ahead and decide to use a flare. And when you use a flare, they have to get rid of the highest number red dice that they have and subtract that from their total. Once all the players have played one command card, made a move, and fired a weapon, everybody's going to pick up their cards again and go ahead and choose a new card to play in that round. Now, it can be the same card or it can be a different card. But again, everybody's going to put their card face down at the same time and then take a whole nother new round. Now, this game is played in teams. It's the Cobra Squadron and the Eagle Squadron versus the Tiger Squadron and the Stallion Squadron. So whenever you knock out both the opposing planes, you have won the game. Because the players are going to put their cards face down all at the same time, you don't know what the other player is going to do. So sometimes you can overshoot the enemy plane that you were going after, and then that enemy can come up right behind you and shoot you down. Well, that's all the time I have for now. If you have a comment below, or you can tweet them to me at RetroBoardGamer. And as always, may your rolls be high.
And that's going to do it for us on this episode. Thanks everybody for tuning in, checking us out. I hope you've had a fantastic 2018 so far, and I hope you have an even better 2019. We'll see you next time.